lovely soulmates, and welcome back to the channel. It's your girl Ellie Soul and our newest soulmate, my truest soulmate. And thank you for joining me today. If you haven't already, go ahead and press that notification button so you're notified every time your girl drops a video, or subscribe to the channel if you aren't already. So today we are going to go into everything pregnancy loss. I am going to be very open and candid about my past experience and then about my current experience with my rainbow baby. Just kind of going into, I guess, what I wish I had known and everything that I kind of went through, maybe to prepare someone that's in the same position, or just to enlighten and inform some people about what that experience actually is like. And being that it's a topic that I think is actually very common, I'm surprised how little I knew about it when it happened to me. So if a topic like this triggers you, or it's not something that you really want to listen to, this is your moment to go ahead and check out of this video, because it does get a little bit personal. So again, if that's not your thing, this is your cue to exit. Before we get into it, I do want to answer a question, because I get asked this all the time. Every time I wear my lip gloss, everybody's always asking me what lip gloss do I have on. So I don't know if you guys remember the first makeup tutorial that I did on this channel, and I went over the Maybelline lip gloss. This is drugstore. You can find it in Target, pretty much CVS, Rite Aid, anything like that. And it's probably the best lip gloss I think I've ever used. I'm stuck on it, been stuck on it for years, and it goes over everything and it just looks amazing, and it's not sticky. So it's definitely one of those glosses that you could put on and totally make out, and it does not affect anything. Okay, so let's get into it. This is the first time I am going to openly talk about this, so I am a little nervous, but let's just rip the band-aid. So I have had a total of 7 miscarriages in my past. 3 of those miscarriages were miscarriages that happened maybe prior to 6 weeks. So anywhere between 6, 5, 4 weeks, I miscarried. And those kind of happened like a period, you know, maybe a little bit of cramping, heavy flow. That was the experience with the miscarriages that happened 6 weeks and sooner. Now the other 4, I had them 6 weeks and forward. So it was like 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 11, 14 weeks, I think 12 and 14 weeks. 14 was the furthest I had gotten, and so I had like just tapped into my second trimester. That one was obviously my most traumatic experience. Now in the past, whenever I had heard about miscarriages, I kind of thought they all happened the same. I kind of just assumed that it was just like a period. You know, you just kind of bled it out. That's what I had seen on TV, and that's really all I knew about it. I did not know how it actually happened. So I sure found out, and it was very traumatic. So I would say what contributed to my horrible experiences were definitely the prenatal care that I had at the time. So I had prenatal care through my insurance, and I just felt like it was just absolutely horrible. I was so young. I didn't know how to advocate for myself. I didn't know what the procedure was like, or should be like, what the care should be like, what I should be asking for. Not to mention, when I would call to make appointments, they would always schedule you like a month after or 2 weeks after. And after experiencing miscarriages, you're very anxious. So finding out I was pregnant and waiting another 2 to 3 weeks to see a doctor, I kind of went crazy during those times, waiting as long. And it didn't matter. Like I used to say, like, you know, my doctor told me to call to get squeezed in sooner, blah, blah, blah. But the receptionists were always so like, I don't want to say rude, but just insensitive. They were just so cold and was just like, well, that's as soon as we have available. And I used to be like, in case someone cancels, and they're like, no, like, we're just gonna give you this appointment. So it just seemed like, I don't know. Yeah, it was just a horrible experience. So I remember one time I found out I was pregnant, and I had to wait almost a month to see the doctor. And for some reason, I just felt it, like something was not right. And I remember getting off the phone with, after booking the appointment, and just like crying in my car, because I just kind of knew it. So by the time I went in to the doctor's appointment, they put me in for an ultrasound, and they told me they couldn't find the heartbeat. Well, first the nurse like checked me, and then she left the room. So when she did that, she was like, oh, I'm gonna go get the doctor. And it's like, girl, I've been through this. I know what this looks and sounds like. So I was just super annoyed. I was really upset. And I knew that obviously something had went wrong. Now with those, when you go to the doctor and you find out that there's something wrong, that your baby has no heartbeat or anything along those lines, they give you options. So my options were to get a abortion pill, which essentially just makes your body expel it, right? It's no longer alive, and so it just puts you in that, it puts your body in the position to just like eject whatever is there. So there's the medicated option. Then there is the surgical option. So it's a DNC, which is literally the process that happens when you get an abortion, which is they scrape out everything that's within your uterus. And they prefer this method because it's the best method to ensure that everything is like out. But obviously for us women, it's not the best option because it is damaging to our uterus. So you can only get that done but so many times. And after enough of them, it causes major issues for future pregnancies. So that to me was never an option, even though for them it was the best option. So the other option would be for you to let your body take care of it naturally. So your body is obviously aware that there's now something there that does not belong there. And so your body will go into the natural process of expelling whatever is there, and you essentially just go into labor. So they also give you the option to labor at home or labor at the hospital. So out of all these options, I opted for, once I did the pill, and the other 3 times I let my body take on its natural course, because I kind of already knew what I was gonna go through. So what they would do is just send you home and just say, just wait for the signs that it's happening. And so one time I did labor at the hospital, and the only reason why I went with this option was because I remember the doctor at the time was like, we need to know why this keeps happening. So we would like to take tissue samples of whatever comes out, and we would like to test it. So I obviously wanted answers as well. So that's why I ended up going to the hospital instead of laboring at home. And that was the worst one. Like, it had to be the worst experience ever. When they say that in this country, like, Black women, like, our pain is not taken seriously, that is truly my experience at the hospital. It was absolutely traumatic. I remember it was a summer night, and the doctor told me, like, when you're in labor, make your way to the hospital. And so I had been through this enough times to know exactly like when I needed to go. So I remember I was with my sister. She ended up coming with me. we went to the ER like my doctor suggested, and they left me in the waiting area, just laboring in the waiting area. And it's crazy because the labor room in the emergency room was completely empty the entire time. Because by the time they tried to make my way there, I had never seen anyone come in and out of that room. So I knew that room was available the whole time. They just left me out there in pain. It was so embarrassing, so mortifying, just bleeding and crying and pushing, literally pushing in the waiting room. Y'all, I wanted to leave the hospital so bad. The only reason why I didn't is obviously I wanted answers on why this was happening, which ended up being pointless because they did not find anything anyways. But yeah, that was absolutely traumatic for me. And I never made it into the room. I ended up pushing it out right in that waiting area. By the time they realized what had happened, then it's like everyone was in a rush to pick me up and try to get me to walk over there. I remember I had a bathing suit on, and it was like, it was in my bathing suit. Yeah. And I'm trying to they're trying to get me to walk into the room. And I remember I was still like pushing, and I gripped onto the door. There was like the door frame, and I did one last push and it came out. Because honestly, when you're in that state, you cannot help but push. Like your body is telling you that you need to push. And so that's what I did, and I never made it to the bed. So then they had me, go up and put my legs up and stuff. And I remember the lady trying to I don't know what she was doing, getting in there, trying to make sure everything is out. And I was so annoyed and disgusted. I literally put my clothes back on and just left. And they were just like, oh, we need you to do an ultrasound to see if your body got everything out. And I was just so not interested. I was just like, I'll deal with it later. So the thing why they like to do a DNC is because if you opt to expel it naturally, if by any chance there's part of it that stays up there, maybe the placenta, some sort of tissue that stays up there, then you're gonna have to have an emergency DNC done anyways. They're gonna have to go in and scrape your uterus anyways. They rather just do it off bat. But for me, it was a chance I was willing to take, and my body never failed me. My body always expelled every single thing that was there. So you do go in for a ultrasound afterwards so that they check to make sure everything is gone. So lucky for me, everything was gone. So what I didn't realize was that you even had to go through that during miscarriages. So obviously if it does not happen during the stage where it's very early on, and it doesn't happen like a period, it happens like labor. And depending on how far along you are, it's more painful, more traumatic. I remember when I was going through it, there were times where I would throw up. I remember once just the force of me throwing up, kind of had everything just come out. But you learn to go through it and deal with it. And I had a very supportive partner that was going through it with me every step of the way. My experience and his experience was completely different. We were both traumatized completely different. I think he was the one that was kind of covering my eyes so I wouldn't see what had happened, and he was kind of wrapped. I remember laying on a towel and him kind of doing the cleanups afterwards. And a part of me wanted to see, and then he was just trust me, you don't. Because I think it traumatized him seeing it. I'm not really sure, but I remember after they would happen, we would just be on separate sides of the bed, just not being able to speak to one another, both hurting separately and differently, and not knowing how to be there for each other because we were both so engulfed in our own trauma essentially. So that kind of sucked. But we were so young, and I don't think anyone had, like, no one had told me what I was about to experience. Like, I was just so unprepared for it. So yeah, so that was my past experiences with pregnancy loss. Now, going into this pregnancy, I was not expecting the feelings and the emotions that came with it. For example, after you wait for something for such a long time and it's something that you genuinely want, you're expected to just be in complete bliss. And that's what I thought I would experience when it finally happened for me, especially because, again, I planned this out. Like, me and baby's father were completely on board with everything. We knew what we were getting into, and we wanted this, we planned it. And so I was so happy when it happened, but I was not expecting the emotions and the feelings that came afterwards. And I wasn't expecting the guilt behind the emotions and feelings that I felt. So for example, I felt so guilty. Till today, I still feel so guilty for all the negative emotions that I feel about it. Because I remember a time where I would look at pregnant women and just feel so much like, oh my God, like so much joy, and just being like, I can't wait for that to be me. And just wanting it, and then it happens, and it's like, girl, this is what you wanted. Like, why are you not happy about it all the time? Like, you should be happy about it. Like, God has blessed you. Why are you finding negative emotions about it? But I couldn't help it, and I felt really guilty for that. I felt really guilty for not always being happy to be pregnant. And the honest truth is, I'm not always happy about it. I have a whole bunch of emotions, especially the first trimester was the hardest for me, because that is where in the past I had struggled so much. So the amount of anxiety I had of just not knowing how it was gonna go, how it was gonna work out, completely took a lot of the joy away from the experience. So what helped me was I got a little heart rate, what they call it, a Doppler, I think it is. So that's where you hear the heart rate, but obviously you can't hear it till I think baby is like 10 weeks old. But I got it at like, I think 7 weeks or 6 weeks pregnant, and I waited, and I would do it every day until I heard something. So that gave me so much more peace of mind. Every day I would wake up and hear the heartbeat and know that, like, okay, you know, like, until I heard it, I felt like I could not go about my day. I would wake up and not be able to breathe until, like, I heard everything was good. So that really helped my anxiety. But even still, not knowing when it could go wrong, I just had a lot of negative emotions. It brought up a lot of the past negative feelings. And yeah, it was just, I had so much anxiety. So I wasn't prepared for that. I didn't think that was gonna affect me. Like, I thought I was just gonna be like happy and rainbows and butterflies, oh my God. And it wasn't like that. And then I think just naturally struggling with things that everyday, like, pregnant women struggle with, which is like, I don't want to say body dysmorphia, but it's like everyone looks at you and they're like, oh my God, like, you're beautiful, you're glowing, you're this and you're that. And you just feel like, oh my God, I'm a freaking whale. And like, the stomach doesn't look the way I want it to look. And like, look at these arms. And you know, it's just like, you feel disgusting, to be quite frank. And you feel like you look it too, but no one else sees it. And it's just like, that's another thing I feel guilty about. Like, why am I feeling this way? Like, I truly wish I felt my most beautiful, and I don't feel my most beautiful. I feel probably, I don't want to say the worst I felt, but definitely been a struggle for me. So yeah, there's that. And another thing with the pregnancy losses is the changes that occurs to your body, right? I was not prepared for like my body changing so drastically because of pregnancy. So like my breasts, and then sometimes I got like, for the one that I made it to the second trimester, I had stretch marks, and then you lose your baby, but you still have all these signs of like what you lived, and you gotta live with that because that's on your body forever. You have these changes, and it's just like, and you don't have your baby, and your body's reacting as if you gave birth. Like I remember once, like my breast was like swollen with milk, and I'm just like, how am I gonna get through this? So yeah, I was not ready for the changes that happened in my body and me having to deal with them with no baby. That was really hard. So yeah, and now watching my body go through all these changes again, it's just like, yeah, so that's definitely something that I think is normal, but I wasn't expecting it, again, because I wanted it so bad that I thought I would just be completely in love and bliss and happy about it, which I do have those moments, don't get me wrong. Like I am not living in this negative space, but whenever I get those negative feelings, I feel so guilty that they exist, because in my mind it's like, you should be so grateful, that you should be happy all the time. But obviously I don't think that that's realistic, so I keep on reminding myself that like, this is normal. Yeah, so the truth is, pregnancy is hard, and it takes a toll on your body, your mind. It's a lot of changes happening all at once. So yeah, it's not easy. And I think going through loss, you just expect that you're gonna be happy with every part about it just because it's happening for you. And that's not necessarily the case, and that's okay if that's not your case. Sorry, I needed a snack break. So this time around, I do have a really good prenatal team. I did have to pay out of pocket for any of like the extra tests that I wanted to run and the things that I wanted to get done, but for me it was absolutely necessary and priority. I think the first round was I was just very young, and there's a lot that I didn't know, and so this time around I'm in a completely different space, and thank God I'm fortunate to be able to use my resources and get the tests that I needed ran, and get answers that I needed early on, and just get the overall prenatal care that I need and that I feel comfortable and completely at peace with. Have so much less anxiety. My first trimester was hard, and as the pregnancy has developed, I've been way more confident in my pregnancy, way more comfortable, and definitely less negative thinking. So that's been really good. And it's instilled more trust in myself and in my body. I think going through the losses, I just felt so betrayed by my own body, and that caused me to like almost have like a negative relationship with my body for a long time. And so this has like reinstilled a lot in me. So yeah, I'm very grateful for this pregnancy. I feel like it's made me so much stronger because of it, and I'm just in a completely different space, honestly. I am really happy. I'm really blessed for the people that I have in my life now, the support that I have. I'm calling this the bubble wrap pregnancy, because I swear, if my family and friends and everyone in my life could just wrap me in bubble wrap and just like make sure that I'm okay, that's exactly what they're doing. I mean, it's been absolutely amazing. So yeah, your environment also contributes to your experience. But if you're going through loss or you've experienced loss, just truly know that God's timing is perfect timing. and you might not understand why things are happening when they're happening, but just know that there's a reason for everything, and it's going to happen, and it's going to find you when the time is right, when you are ready to receive it, if that makes sense. So there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with your body. There's just something that you need to learn, some things you need to experience, and there's a different space you need to be in when you receive your blessing. Thank you for being here, and thank you for following me on this new journey. I'm gonna answer more questions, so if you guys have any questions for me, especially like pregnancy related or just this new phase of life related, go ahead and put them in the comment section down below. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys. You guys can follow your girl Elli Soul on all her social media platforms @_ Elli Soul. That's @_ ELLISOUL. Thank you guys again for joining me, and I will catch you in the next video.